Hey guys, it's Roderick, and I'm here to talk about Netflix The Witcher Blood Origin. I hope everyone's new year is off to a really great start. I just want to hop in really quickly because I want to give you all enough time to talk and see if you all had watched The Witcher Blood Origin, whether or not you started the Witcher series, because I promised you to talk about The Witcher Blood Origin and The Witcher Season 2 kind of reaction. So I'm not gonna be here long, but I just really want to come in and kind of give you my thoughts, my reactions. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Here we talk about different shows with the angle and the eye towards screenwriting, and we just always have like a really good kiki. So let's get into it. So when they first kind of did the promotion for this Witcher's Blood Origin, I was kind of like in the realm with a lot of people like, okay, you know, a prequel. Like prequels are very dicey, right? Because if you've already started watching this series and then they do a prequel, you kind of already know where the characters are, kind of like where characters are going to end up. So the question is kind of like, is the prequel going to give us something new, something more exciting, or tell a story about an event that's like really integral to where the characters are, right? So if you all are watching Game of Thrones and you're watching House of Dragon, that's kind of like where I was when House of Dragon started. Now I'm like totally bought into House of Dragon because it just gives me my life just about every episode, right? So I kind of came in with like middling expectations, not having read any of the kind of source material, the graphic novels, anything like that, okay? So pretty much what Blood Origin does is gives us the backstory on two different really great events, and then kind of also answers a very important question if you've watched The Witcher Season 2, okay? Which I'll get to at the end. I'll give you a break if you haven't finished it yet, and I give you my theory of kind of like what the quasi answer was at the end. So anyway, so pretty much it starts off very Lord of the Rings teases, right? So there's a Jaskier is in the middle of a battle in Temeria, right? And then all of a sudden he gets like the Professor X freeze flash, everyone's immobile, and this elf comes to kind of tell him the tale of the first Witcher. And what we find out is that the first Witcher came about back in the days when the elves were still alive before the conjunction, right? Like we always hear about the conjunction. So this happens before the conjunction, like 1,000 years beforehand. And pretty much there's an elf realm and it's kind of ruled and guided by these different clans, right? And the clans are just, you know, there's the Protection Clan, there's the Wolf Clan, there's all these different clans that are kind of coming around as protection for, you know, working with the different kingdoms who are all elves, right? So what happens is that the ruler of the elf kingdom has a sister. He wants to marry this sister off to another kingdom in order to create this 1,000 years of peace, because 1,000 years of war has been going on. Well, in the interim of that, while this is happening, right, the sister decides she doesn't want to be sold. She has her own ideas. So she low-key ends up killing her brother and kills all the clans, right? So then while this is happening, she's already started hunting one of her main clan protector, okay? He gets sent off and gets banished. And then we get another character who's called Ely, who then is like kind of an outcast. She's left her clan. And it starts this like kind of like Lord of the Rings tease where like they have to get 7 people and they all kind of have to go on this kind of great adventure, whatever. So what ends up really low-key happening is everybody has a reason to hate this new empress, because this new empress has killed off all the clans. And for Skin, who's played by Michelle Yeoh, the empress has her famous sword. We have a dwarf who's really upset. Then we have these brother and sister-ish, 2 sorcerers, right? Okay, I was like, okay. So as I'm starting watching this, I'm kind of like, well, do I really care about these characters? Do I really care about whatever? But it starts to get interesting around the second episode, because what we find out is the Empress is really a puppet for the commander and kind of like the mage guy, okay? So the mage guy is jumping between worlds, having monsters come and support his rule, the new regime, after they've killed everybody off, right? So this is our first kind of like view of having monsters in this realm. Okay, fine. Then we find out that the commander is low-key gay, and he's off hunching some other guy who's on the kind of border council or whatever. Okay, fine, 2 points for the gays, right? But then we feel like now the Ely and everybody else is kind of like moving through, and if they do the thing where they kind of collect the people and you go on to this realm and you go to this person and everyone kind of finds out, they come to find out that the only way they can defeat the Empress, right, is if they come together with their own solution to killing this monsters, right? So the two sorcerer siblings are like, well, okay, they on their way there, they grab a monster and mix monster blood with a bit of magic, and then use that to create what is the first type of Witcher. Okay, so we're like, okay, well that's interesting, right? So if that was the entire show, I'd have been like, okay, we really didn't need all these episodes, right? One of the things Netflix is doing that I really, really enjoy is they're doing this thing called limited series, right? Where they don't give you a full 8 or 10 episodes. They give you like 5 or 6 different episodes. And then you don't have to like watch it. They don't have the plot, the pacing of it can move a lot quicker because it's a lot shorter episodes, right? So then we get to, so then the second kind of like storyline is this mage, right? Who's the kind of the Empress's mage. So she's found her little substitute mage. So what she's trying to do is that the obelisk or the monument that you recall in the Witcher series, those kind of big monument kind of black things, right? They are like vibrating. Now we all were like, okay, fine, we know they're vibrating. And that's kind of where the mages are using to go between dimensions, right? And the Empress is trying to control these things, but her new mage can't do it. So she lets the old mage out who's like really tricky. Anyway, long story short, as they make the final assault on the kingdom and whatever, the brother sibling mage ends up binding his power with the old mage for the Empress and tries to destroy the main little monument thing called, what it's called. I keep forgetting what the term is called. Lo and behold, this little triangulation creates the conjunction, right? So we literally see the conjunction happening right before our eyes. And if you go back to the first episode of season 1, the first episode when Yennefer and Frangilla and the Elf Queen are all walking down the hallway into the little witch's hut, you see a picture of the monument and then 2 men in the triangulation. That is where that's coming from. And I was like, okay, that's a payoff, right? Because now we actually see the conjunction happening. And if you watch the second season, you realize that it wasn't just the planets merging or colliding, they were passing through each other, right? So during the conjunction and all the planets passing through, men came to the elf world, monsters came to the elf world. So then we have the need for the Witcher. We see with the conjunction happening, and you're like, oh my God, I thought that was the biggest payoff of the entire show, of really seeing the conjunction happening and really kind of like tying that into Cirilla and Geralt and really all the things we heard or thought to happen. And so overall, I thought it was a pretty good prequel for that reason. Now we get to the big payoff, right? Now, if you watch season 2 and when you at the end of season 2, you realize there's a mysterious man, right? That's hired like the fire thrower and the chick who got her face burned off because she tried to fuck around and found out with that Witcher serum and have her face got burned off, right? So if you watch the entire Witcher Blood Origin, there's an end credit scene. And there's an end credit scene where the Empress's fill-in mage is looking at Cirilla when she is playing her little dice game, whatever, when she was a little kid, while she's pretending to be a boy. Because one of his discoveries was you can use those monuments not just to travel between dimensions, but also travel between time, right? So he has traveled between time. He ended up getting travel between time during a conjunction and has traveled back, and he's the one watching Cirilla. Now, the low-key gay commander, the mage, decides to fix him because the commander has ended up betraying him and sends him to the other dimension and locks him in there. While he's in there, he ends up pulling this little half-skull mask on. And I'm like, I've seen that mask before. It's the mask that those riders were wearing when they saw Cirilla, Yennefer, and Geralt. So he's part of that troop because there's a whole battalion of men who got trapped in the other dimension. And then when the monument exploded, then they were pretty much done, right? So we're like, okay, that answers some questions. But then we're like, who is the man who was watching Cirilla? Who is the man who's after her or whatever? It's the emperor, it's the empress's fill-in mage. That's my theory. That he got stuck and traveled back in time, and because he knows about Cirilla, he's the one who's paying flamethrower guy and Bernie face chick to go back and get him. I think that's who he is. Let me know and let me know the discussions. I know I kind of really did like a very 50,000 feet into it, but I really want you all to watch it. Kind of, none of these are super spoilers because everything that occurs in this prequel, we already know about in the regular season. It just kind of adds flavor to it and kind of gives us a different dimension. Kind of same like the Witcher cartoon, just kind of like answer some questions, but it doesn't really spoil anything that's happened, except for the battle that starts in the beginning of the episode, which makes it very interesting. I mean, I'm really interested to see how this entire series kind of really pans out anyway, now that we have the Hemsworth brother playing Geralt or whatever, and Cavill not showing up. So I'm totally bought in. I think it's a great exercise, a great use of your time if you've really bought into the series. If you've never watched this series before, right, this is perfect, okay? So watch the prequel, and then watch the first season, watch the Witcher cartoon, and you do season 2, okay? Now, if you're new to the Witcher universe, here's my thing. The first season is told out of chronological order, right? So it's not necessarily a flashback, but the storyline and the narratives flow, but they occur at different times. So one scene may happen in the future, another scene may happen in the present, another scene may happen, a little bit further back, but you don't know that as you're watching, okay? So that will kind of let you know kind of when you're watching that first season and those first episodes, that they're occurring kind of out of chronological order, but the narrative still plays within itself, which I thought was a very brilliant thing for them to do because, I had to go back and watch it twice. The first time I was like, what's going on here? And then I realized it's out of chronological order. I just Googled, if you just Google Witcher episode chronology, it will tell you exactly the timeline of when all the major plot points happen and when they're happening beforehand, right? Which I think is fantastic. I am also on record to say that I am high-key a Yennefer fan, even though she keeps shooting herself in the foot. I was like, the second season with Yennefer, I was just like, girl, you keep shooting yourself in the foot, fucking up this good thing with this good man. I was just like, girl, but that's a whole nother video for a whole nother time, how Yennefer keeps fucking up her life, making badass decisions. But anyway, go watch The Witcher, Blood Origin. Let's get some comments or whatever like that. And also, if there's any more shows between now, The Real Housewives of New Jersey starts in February, and I've already told you that's going to be at the top of my list because I'm going to go in and let have on all those chicks. But also any more scripted shows before Severance and the morning show come back and whatever. Let me know. I know for someone that say Kindred, I might do Kindred in like a part 1, part 2, part 3. I'm going to wait for the next snowstorm quietly in Chicago to happen. So that way that could just be what I do to the next snowstorm is watch Kindred and we can get on and talk about that. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a great and happy new year. Watch The Witcher Blood Origin. Watch The Witcher Season 1. Watch The Witcher Season 2. And I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.